Well, there it is. Here's another map review. This time, Northern Felwood, the 4 versus 4 random team map. This is being introduced into the ladder. Take it in for all its glory. I remember giving this a rank 5 out of like 20 submissions in the Hive Workshop, and Sour gave it, I think, number 1. So it ended up getting like 3rd place overall. It's pretty damn good, actually, and it's only really got 5 by me because it was so close between like 3rd and 4th position as well. I really like the 3 and 4 position maps too, so this could have easily been like a rank 3 for me. So we're going to take a look at its predecessor, which is Banewood Bog, the map that got replaced by this one that we're looking at. So you might remember this map. This is the scourge of everyone's internet connection. It would often cause desyncs. Not necessarily to your internet connection, but to your connection to Warcraft 3. So, yeah, lap that one in, because that one's going. Make the most of it, because you're probably not going to look at it again. For those of you that are curious as to seeing what the map looks like in Reforged, here's a brief overview of it currently from the classic version. And because Nick was getting on my butt so much about the whole Reforged thing, I ended up having to painfully load up another editor and transfer maps over, and so I can show you a brief overview from Reforged's perspective. So from a top-down point of view, it does not look good at all. I mean, wow, it just looks like a child drew it with crayons, but there you go. This tile set is not well designed for Reforged at all. So I'm just going to sort of go around a little bit. It doesn't look like it's finished at all, does it? It just looks like a lot of it is bizarrely... It's a fever dream. Is it a Tim Burton movie or something? Anyway, that's enough of that. I think we'll move back into the classic because I'm trying to keep these videos short, even if Nick's trying to stop me from doing that. So there's plenty to do. I mean, if you just take a look at this, honestly, there's like multiple positions for the players. 1, 2, 3, and 4 versus 5, 6, 7, and 8. So each player has different options available to them, which is always cool going into the game, but I don't think it's going to be too harsh on you to be closer to your opponents. You will be in a bit of pressure from this position, but I guess you've got 2 buddies to keep you protecting. This guy's going to get lots of luxury, I think. He's either going to have a personal 1 versus 1, or he's going to go on a creeping vendetta. So there are expansions for players. There's one over here, and there's one over here, and I think that might actually be it, unless I'm not looking correctly. But I guess one easier way to break down the map would be to take a look at the object manager. That always helps me break down a map. So if we go look at the size of it, it's pretty damn large. It's a big map, but then again, of course, there's 8 players on it. So it's very wide, but from top to bottom, it actually wouldn't take you too long to get to your opponent. If we take a look at the passive buildings, 16 gold mines, so that means there's 8 gold mines for each other player, so there should be an expansion for each player technically then. I just don't locate them very easily on the map. There's laboratories, there's merchants, taverns, even a marketplace. I don't think there's a... Oh, there is a mercenary camp as well. Well, there you go. You can pick up some Ashen Vales style mercenaries, so that's cool. The creatures, the layout is obviously corrupted in terms of the nature. So you've got these murlocs, but then you've got a mix of murloc mutants, so that works. You've got the treants, which are obviously natural, but these are corrupted and poisonous treants. You've got furbolgs, but furbolgs flock to where the nature used to be, or at least where it should be, but this is being tainted over time by the corruption of the fel. So that works with the furbolg, as we've seen through the campaign. You had the whole furbolg issue of drinking from the water and then becoming corrupted, etc., etc. Satyrs obviously fit in. Wolves are kind of a cool extra addition. Infernals definitely fit in. Tough to creep though, and you've got like these kind of monstrosities as if they've been sitting in the fel pool for too long. And you've got these sludge flingers. They're like crazy looking, horrible monstrosities. I like that this has been replaced. Back when I reviewed this map originally, there was a goblin laboratory in the middle, and it had the same creeps near it, and it was, not only was it hard to get to, in a degree of going up the ramp and just trying to get that shredder. How possibly could you get the shredder and get it to survive, or a zeppelin with all these trolls nearby? So I felt like that was a really negative point of the map. So on the bright side, that's been changed. So the other bright side is it's much harder to go through the middle of the map accidentally, because if you accidentally walk through this, you're going to take a lot of damage, bearing in mind pathing. But the map creators made it so that if you take a look at the terrain here, the pink is the pathing, so to speak, and you've got like this kind of cut-off point, so it's much harder to go through the middle accidentally and lose all of your units. So this is a deliberate choice for players, and if they deliberately come here, what do they get rewarded with? Level 4 permanent, certainly very worthy, and a level 3 charge. So there's a big incentive to get to the middle of the map. But there's no fountain of mana or health. You would think like a fountain of health or mana would also be cool, but I will definitely take a marketplace over those, because I like marketplaces, because they essentially give you an item, a potential item that you could never get otherwise. Well, at least an item that didn't drop for you on the map, but can, you know what I mean, basically. If you got like a potion of greater healing, you could get a potion of greater mana drop into the marketplace, and that would be the item that you actually wanted, so you can go purchase it. So this map being a much larger is a bit harder for me to sort of do a full review, but we can take an assumption that there's a good level of creeps nearby, both green and orange for players to do. Green's sort of closer towards the middle of the map, with orange being on the outskirts, red being on the far outskirts, but for top, bottom, left, right, you know, all that kind of good stuff. And the gold mines, not too difficult to do, but the spiders might give you a bit of a troublesome time because of the envenomed weapons, but easy enough. If you do take the gold mine, you will be a little bit exposed though, because this is a cliff type here, so you're on the lower ground. And your opponent's going to obviously reach it quite easily, but that's obviously the cost of going for a gold mine. I think this map is certainly going to beat Banewood Bog. I think everyone will be quite happy to have this. There's a lot of powerful creatures, which incentivizes players to essentially try to creep them very fast with very little. So mass archers trying to do this creep camp, but obviously you got slow from these creatures, so it's quite nasty to try to pull that off. This will be a very tough creep camp, but a level 5 permanent item would be really cool. And it's close to your opponent, so it's fairly easy for your opponent to try to fight you for it. It's not like hidden away over here or something where you can easily do it. This one, for example, though, is. So I would highly suggest the left versus right is obviously contested, but the top versus bottom, that's what you should be trying to maybe even go for. As a pair or something, try to get this bad boy down and give the Mountain King or Blade Master that super item. Obviously, you got gold mines that you want to fight over. There's a lot of open space that sort of seems overly bare, but I think you can make it work because of the layout of the map. It gives pathing for large armies, which is obviously useful in 4v4. There's a cool mercenary camp. You know, I think it's a busy map with a lot of stuff to do. The upside, I would say, is the map maker did not restrict the goblin shops. Merchants on the right and left, they're also available in the middle, which I think you should always have a shop available close to the middle, because it's so painful. When they made the change to Twilight Ruins to put the shops at the actual like outskirts of the map, it was like, oh, I need to buy a town portal, but I can't be bothered to go all the way over here, so I guess I'm going to have to take a risk and not buy it. But now you have the option to go and get yourself that town portal, so it's much more heavily favoured. I think the only possible downside is, whilst you are somewhat protected, I think these players are maybe a little bit overly vulnerable in these positions. I don't know how much further back you would take this. Maybe remove that pull this further down this way, further down like here instead of over here, just so those players aren't quite so exposed. But I played this map before. We even played this recently. I did like a kind of weird... What was it? There was a 3v3, and then there was like 2 other people on the team, like Overclocked and another player. And it was kind of weird, and I ended up fighting versus all of them. But we played that in Reforged. I think the map is a welcome addition to 4v4 RT. There's a lot going on, so it's pretty hard to cover it from a, you know, every aspect. But I would say the design, the theme, the layout is all very good. It's got a lot of feels that don't make it the same. Do you know what I mean? Like, whilst there is a kind of level of linearity of, okay, so you'll go here, 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 there is still, I don't know, Like, there's ramps that sort of lead along different pathways. So if you didn't want to go straight through here, you changed your mind, you can do that. There's a lot of 4v4 maps where once you've chosen a path, or bad 4v4 maps, I would say, once you've chosen a path, you're kind of forced down that path. So I like that you have these options available to you as a player. It's always good to have more winding paths. And if you take a look at this, there certainly are quite a lot of winding paths, a lot of land mass to still build upon, but the theme is there with the corruption. It's just, obviously, these are very unusual creatures that you would be fighting versus. So quite strange for new players to pick up upon, but I'm sure they can find their way around it with given time. Some of these might not be as easy as others, though, because of the slow. There's a cost, so you have to take that into account. I think a lot of new players are going to find out the hard way that this map could be maybe a little bit brutal. But once you get used to it, I think they'll be quite happy to replace Banewood Bog with this. So there you go. That's Northern Felwood. Bit of a scatty review because I'm not even sure how to cover it all, but hopefully you got a good idea as to how the map's going to be, how it's going to play. And you'll be playing it and seeing it most likely because it's in the 4v4. So it's on the PTR at the moment as the time of this recording, but it won't be too long until it's on actual ladder most likely. So it's a map I'm going to be playing because I obviously play 4v4. Right then, take care.